first of all, thank you to the Founding Network and to everyone who's been involved in this. It's been interesting working with the Founding Network because what we wanted to do was solve that problem or bring that value that we just heard from James. For us, it's as much about learning from you as a community and your experiences and what we can take back to better serve this particular community. We are very good as Microsoft at serving the enterprise. We have products that are world-class that serve the SMB and the sort of entry-level community across a number of different products. One of the things that we are probably not as present or don't give as much back to the industry in is something that we're here today to talk to you about and hopefully learn and evolve our own proposition. So anything I learned today that Tina learns, we're going to kind of take this away and use this as this is what our customers, our future customers, our fast-growing scale-up businesses are saying to us. We have to listen to this and we have to evolve our own propositions here. My name's Simon Jacobson. I am the SMB lead and startups lead at Microsoft Advertising. I've been in the role for different guises of the role over 6 years, and that's changed massively as the advertising business has grown. Before I kind of get onto the topic, just a quick show of hands, who is working with Microsoft in any capacity today? A few of you, and then just keep your hand up if that's advertising. So we've got a few, and then is there anyone that has used any Microsoft advertising products in the past that is not currently doing that today? Okay, so we've got one or two. Great. The topic we're going to talk about today is really important to us, and it's not a one-time topic. It's an evolving topic. So, like I said, what we learn, we're going to feed into the next iteration. There are things that even internally, as we talk with our marketing teams around building this out. There are things that were important that we didn't necessarily consider in the first iteration of this piece of work. I'm not going to talk about that piece of work. You can download that. We'll provide links, I think, in the follow-up emails. But what I would like to do is learn from you and then bring that back in. And there's, really excited for the conversation afterwards, the fireside chat. If you wouldn't mind just going on to the next slide, that'd be great. So just a bit about Microsoft Advertising for those who don't know who we are. We have a suite of products. We're predominantly in the search advertising space. We have a large we have a large native business. Fastest growing part of Microsoft Advertising is our native advertising business. We reach about 1 billion people across the globe. We represent about 20% market share of UK PC. That's a number that's kind of flip-flopped quite a bit over the last few years. As you can imagine, COVID, working from home, that kind of seismic shift in behaviour has kind of given Microsoft sort of an everyday footprint, and that number's stayed stable for quite some time now. $10 billion annual revenue. Here, obviously, as a large sales organisation, you kind of hear the ambition of where they want to take that. But you obviously know or have read in the press that there's been some interesting acquisitions, and I think Microsoft thinks in terms of it's one business, and that should transcend across a number of different businesses within Microsoft. So, for example, a pending acquisition of Activision Blizzard. What might that mean for us in the future if that lands as it should? What might that mean for advertising and advertisers? And it's kind of our job to ideate what we'd like that to mean, and we get that from hearing from our customers and partners. I want to say the number of countries that we operate in. Good conversation yesterday with Melissa. People think we operate in a small subset of markets, and up until a couple of weeks ago we did. We are expanding to over 100 markets globally. What that means is, yes, you can access Microsoft's search engine Bing in any country globally across a number of different languages. But as a marketer, as an advertiser, can you reach those audiences with our products. Up until a couple of weeks ago, that was limited. Over the next 6 months, you're going to see that go globally into over 100 markets. So if you are a internationally minded business, and I understand that most of you are, that could be an opportunity for you or your business to kind of think about as you grow. We go into the next slide, that'd be great. This is my last slide. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but this is the nature and the crux of this conversation for me. The top and the bottom of the funnel, forever and a day, we talk about funnels and marketing. I studied marketing, spent the last 20 years in marketing in various different guises. Marketing, fundamentally, everything has changed and nothing has changed. So the funnel, the top and the bottom of the funnel, you get it. You've got your purpose, you've got your mission, you know what you're after as a product or service, you know fundamentally where you want to get to. The bottom of the funnel, especially in a kind of startup scale-up mindset, it's acquisition, lower acquisition costs, all the terms that you hear kind of affiliated with the sort of startup and scale-up community. Growth hacking, I'd never heard of growth hacking, and growth hacking came, and growth hacking seemed to have gone away again. The bottom of the funnel, activity is somewhat a lot easier or to understand or to measure. And then there's that bit in the middle. It's kind of a messy bit. We call it the missing middle. That's the bit that kind of promotes discussion with a customer, with a partner. Who are your customers? What mindset are they in at any given time? Are they flip-flopping from a brand experience to a demand experience? For us, it's about taking that model and turning it into something that is valuable to you. One of the questions that I'm particularly interested in asking this community, and perhaps we'll do it in the Q&A, is just around data, understanding who your customers are, not just when you've purchased them and what they've purchased for, but what you can do with that data. We've got obviously a changing marketing ecosystem, the demise of third-party cookies, and all of the kind of industry, the future-facing challenges that marketers are going to face. For us, it's how can we, better equip and support you in that kind of missing middle that we say. So, with that, we're going to hand back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah? So I think that's really helpful to get a bit of context about what we're talking about today. We're very fortunate to be joined by Melissa, who you'll see front and centre, who's the founder of Remedy Health. Many of you will probably recognise her from that documentary, Founders Changing the World. Incredible business, which I'll hand over in a second to just give us a quick bit of context about your business as well, Melissa. But effectively, we're going to hand over to a bit of a fireside chat between Simon and Melissa to talk about their different businesses, how marketing works. I bet now you're seeing Melissa, you'll start to see their advertising all over the tubes and buses and wherever else, which is always good to see. So, Melissa, would you like to come on up? And
Sure.
I'll hand over to you for a quick minute or so of who you are, what you do. And Simon, if you could sit right here and I'll let you get into it.
Sure. Are we going to sit?
I'm going to sit.
I think because of fireside chat in first, that you're sitting down. I'm Melissa Snover. I'm the CEO and founder at Remedy Health. We use proprietary 3D printing technology that we build in-house from the ground up to personalize health and wellness. So our first concept to market is called Nourished. It's the world's first authentically manufactured personalized gummy stack, we call it. And this product launched in January 2020, about 10 weeks before COVID hit the UK, and then launched in the US in November of the same year. Since then, we have grown by close to 700%. We have tens of thousands of customers in both of those markets. And certainly we are a digitally native brand, and online is our main channel.
Brilliant. Thank you. So I think, as I mentioned before, first of all, fascinating business, and I want to go into some of the detail, and especially around that data piece. I'm super curious on that. My first question really is for you, from a marketing standpoint, what keeps you up at night? What for your business? What makes what's the bit that's?
I think that anybody who's doing online marketing has had a really rough ride the last 6 months or more, and I think that's a culmination of lots of things, the demise of cookies, iOS 14, trackability, data protection. It's different in every single market. And if we're being really, really honest, we were able to be quite lazy with online marketing because it was so efficient. Your trackability, your targetability was so efficient that, I mean, when we first launched, we expected our CAC rates to be, about twice the price of the product. And actually they weren't. We had positive return on ad spend on first purchase for 18 months when we launched. And it was like, wow, this is so great. And then that all went away, right? So when iOS came and then the subsequent things that happened over and over and over and over again, that made it more difficult for you to track people, but also to target the right people. So even if you knew who they were, if you didn't already have a touch point with them, you couldn't track them. And even if you did have a touch point, you used to be able to maintain that trackability for a certain amount of time. And now it's been restricted to a much shorter period of time. So that's really a challenge. And so what keeps me awake at night, is this amazing kind of perfect balance between growth and efficiency of spend, right? So I think everybody thinks about that. So, we all want to grow, and growth is really important, especially if you have a subscription model like ours. You can justify higher CAC rates to a degree. But if you are spending way too much money, then no matter what the growth, your profitability is going to be a major issue. You're going to burn cash super quick, and obviously as a startup, that's a huge concern that keeps, I think, probably everyone awake at night. Yeah.
Great. And I want to go further on that, but just a show of hands for everyone here. iOS 14, are we predominantly mobile in the room? So just that show of hands, iOS 14, that was something that affected your business, or it's also something that, okay, so let's talk about kind of solving for some of those and kind of moving forward. Now I'm going to go into data because I think that's where where we are. You are collecting a lot of first-party data unique to your company. I've experienced it myself. What do you do with that data today to activate that data? So thinking about the subscription model, lifetime value, reselling, upselling. How do you think about that today from a data standpoint?
So when people go onto our website, even if they don't purchase something, but they want to see what's recommended for them, they go through a consultation. Takes 2 minutes, has like an 87% completion rate. And that gives us a huge amount of data across the entire marketplace around trends, what people are thinking about in goals, lifestyle, macro trends. So for example, when COVID hit, people's screen time went up massively. In the very beginning of COVID, immunity was a big focus for people's goals. Then it went to mental health. Then it went to losing weight when everyone gained their lockdown stone. And that helps us to drive MPD, messaging for all of our wider market or broad market spectrum ad messaging and for the website itself. But now we're able to use it in a lot of different ways that we weren't really, we could have done it before, but we were not pushed because we were so efficient online. There was no reason to do it. There was no motivation. But now we have, custom landing pages. If you've been on our site before, the landing page will be customized to your answers. We're able to send very, very targeted messages by email if people agree to be contacted, of course. Like, Melissa, you told us that you run 3 times a week and you're a vegan. Did you know, blah, 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 blah. This new study came out and it's highly relevant to me. And so we have huge open rates, over 50% even of people who never purchased. And, the amount of revenue that we generate from CRM, either SMS or from email, is actually much higher than the industry standard because of that personalization, I think, is what we can draw the correlation to. When it comes to, the big funnel that you talk about, it's absolutely right. Our brand is so new that certainly for the first part of it, if we had already had iOS, the changes with iOS and all the trackability before we launched, I don't think we would be where we are today. But because we were able to get to a critical mass and build an awareness level within our core home market, the UK, and then also building that up in the US, which takes a lot longer, it's a lot more expensive, there's a lot more people. But that awareness and that trust for our brand has really helped us to get more customers. And then what we really push now is reviews. And so we've been the UK's highest customer rated vitamin since 2020, May 2020. And our customer reviews are incredible. They do our selling job for us. And so what we're able to do with our personalized data is we're able to show, a man who says that he doesn't work out very much and his major goal is to lose weight, a review from someone who took our product for that same reason and the results that they had. And so that is extremely powerful if you can use it. But it's not easy to get that to work. We had to custom write that algorithm. All of our applications on our website, we use Shopify, but then everything around it is custom. And so that's something that, is a big overhead at the beginning, and then a maintenance overhead that never ends. Yeah.
Smart, very smart. I dread to think what your site might target me for. Quite interesting. You talk about the lockdown stone. I'm if we're being moderate, I'll be quite happy there. You sort of alluded to it, but your business has obviously seen a lot of activity, and you've learned a lot in an accelerated short period of time.
Yeah.
But when you think about your marketing philosophy, so yes, it's quite data-led, quite data-heavy. You know the channels, you know where you're driving activity today. How's that changed as the business has evolved?
Well, I think in the very beginning, when you launch any concept, I think you have an education piece, and then you have to build a trust, right? So especially in my industry, which is health, and VMS is highly focused around trust, and that's the biggest burdens to purchase are people not trusting a brand, or the bad reviews, et cetera, that they read about it. So whereas there's heritage brands that have been around since the early 1900s and have had time to build that trust up, whether they're stale or not, you can't really shortcut to that trust. And so in the very beginning, we did a humongous amount of education. Why do you need personalization? Why is the gummy as a form factor better for absorption? How do we make this product? Why is it different? Why is it new? Et cetera. Why is it better in every way than your current thing that you're taking, right? And so that's a huge amount of PR has to go into that, social posts, blog posts, SEO, speaking events, et cetera, to really just, I guess, the old-fashioned way of getting the word out, right? And then once you get to that level, which we have done in the UK to a degree, it never ends. You have to continually reinforce it. But once you get to that level, it's more about, check this out, this is new, we're donating money to Vitamin Angels, we're giving away free masks to everyone, blah, 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 and just making it interesting. And now we have enough customers where actually, in the very beginning, you can't possibly use this as a main pillar, but our loyalty program and Refer a Friend is now becoming a major pillar of our acquisition. And so in the very beginning, when you have no customers, obviously you can't use that.
Yeah, the critical mass it kind of gets overtaken priority-wise by how can I drive the most from the existing customers. And just to kind of move, you talk about PR channels, SEO, paid media you've spoken about.
Yeah.
Just when you think about that ecosystem today, and I just want to try and bring this into the folks in the room as well, you have partners across publishers, across the technology providers that you use. This is not a naming names perhaps, but what do you get from them today, and what would you like to get more of from them as a community? So, technology, publisher, media.
So, I'm sure every business that's online has a tech stack with some basic fundamentals, right? And you might choose a different provider, but they're pretty, you have to have certain things. And so, we use things like Klaviyo, which provide us with ongoing training. They're constantly updating it, making it more dynamic, et cetera. Shopify is constantly updating, not always for the better, in my opinion. However, that's always updating. Now, when it comes to advertising itself, of course, we're using Google, we're using Bing actually also, and then we're using programmatic native now. And then we're using, Facebook as well. And when we first started, nobody wants to know. You need to work through an agency. Now we've hit, again, this spend level where we have our own direct account managers who, in the best relationships, are telling us what to expect from changes that are coming up and how to optimize and be more efficient on their platform, because they should know. They wrote it. They understand, they should do, to a degree that we can't possibly. the algorithm, the way you can maximize it. A good example, and this is a very old-fashioned example, was when Facebook started doing lives. Our Facebook manager, this is for my previous company, contacted us and said, get on lives. Literally, we're going to weight them so high on the algorithm, you'll pay like 1/10 of what you would normally pay to boost posts, and you'll get humongous reach because we're really trying to get people to use this new feature. And that's similar with lots of new features that they launch. They weight it higher, they want people to see it more, et cetera. And that's an example of, they'll tell you, this is coming, this is how you guys can benefit from it. This is the insider knowledge I have from being inside of this company that will help you to be more efficient in your spend. And I think, we're not spending anywhere near as much as, some of the really big CPGs, I'm sure, but we're spending a decent amount. And I think what really surprised me the most was we didn't get somebody sooner than we did, but we do have people now. And we don't use paid marketing agencies. We're doing everything in-house. We have 13 people now. We develop our own content and everything. And that was a strategic decision because I felt that by working with agencies in the beginning, it was important because we didn't have the ability to hire that many people with that level of know-how. But now, by bringing people internal and allowing them to learn on the fly and upskill themselves as it's an ever-changing marketplace, ever-changing landscape, ever-changing dynamic, it's allowing us to be more agile, to on the spot, flip it around, change that ad, that's not working, so-and-so's, and be really responsive. Whereas when you're working through a third party, no matter how awesome they are, that can be more difficult because it's going through multiple different filters before it gets to the action point. And so, yeah, I think that's been a good decision. It only went totally live at the beginning of December last year, and it has taken our CAC rates and they've gone down by 75%.
Awesome.
So it has worked, but obviously it requires a lot of management, it requires hiring, it requires all of those other things. But I think now that we have done it, I hope that we continue to see more incremental benefit.
Great. It'd be good to, should we do Q&A after? Should we? I'm happy to, but yeah, of course.
Yes. Yeah, so we do our own copy, we do our own PR, we have graphic designers, videographer, photographer, paid media, social. Yeah, and to be honest, you can get these people entry level that are super creative and very, very capable, but that just want to be in a learning environment. And that's what our business is able to offer, really. So it's not as expensive as you think. Some of the agency fees that I've paid seem really expensive now. Plus, when you hire people and they become 100% invested in your brand, so all my staff are owners of the company. I give EMI shares to everyone. You have them thinking and breathing and believing and caring about only your brand every day, which is always going to be a better result in the end because it's unfiltered and it's pure and it's authentic. Also, when they speak on behalf of the brand or they answer somebody who's made a comment on social media, they're speaking from the brand. Not from a third party who's on behalf of the brand.
And just to thank you for asking that question. Just on the makeup of teams here. So the first question for everyone is, if you're using an agency today for creative or paid media. Okay, so it's quite a lot. I might do the inverse. You're not. Just to show. Yeah. So most people, everything's being done in house, and I guess for those using an agency, have you had, does anybody want to sort of speak to their experience of doing it in-house and maybe not having the right result and that's why they've gone to an agency? We had
a really interesting experience when we were trying to scale up multiple channels at the same time. Rather than scaling up internal teams to specialize in each channel, we kind of used the agency as a plug and play. So we actually have quite a large internal team as well, but we didn't want to hire specialists in each channel. So we hired an agency who had specialist teams to test the channels, and then we're building out teams internally to match what they're doing successfully.
Got it.
It's working really well.
Yeah, that's super smart. Yeah.
Great. I've lost track of time.
We've got plenty of time. So why don't we run for... We'll just leave sort of 10 minutes at the end to open it up to the floor for any questions. But
Brilliant. Yeah, I've got a ton of questions, but I might go a bit quick fire now just to start the fun stuff. When you started, obviously every founder, every startup, certainly scale up that I meet is super passionate about their business and the purpose behind that. what came first? Was it the product market fit? Was it the idea? Was it the industry? What was the bit that sort of drove you there?
I think it was a culmination of many things. So I actually had another business that I started in order to be able to create custom products in live consumer environments. So I started my FMCG career about 10 years ago when I created a product that was a vegan gummy candy, about 10 years too early for veganism. And I got laughed out of the offices of Tesco. The buyer told me to take the word vegan off of the packaging. It was going to scare people. And who's laughing now? But I was way too early. And he was right. He was right. We laugh about it now. But in the end, that brand grew extremely well through retail, traditional B&M retail. And so I think by the end, before I sold it, I had 40,000 stores globally selling the product in under 3 years. And it was very fast growth because it was free from as well as being vegan. So I was too early for vegan, but free from, I was right on the precipice of that. And I had to make that product in third-party manufacturing sites, very large, traditional manufacturing sites. And 99% of all manufacturing still happens this way. And it began to become so frustrating to me that I could not bear it anymore. The MPD cycles took 2 years or longer. This is why you see people like Kellogg's launching gluten-free cereal right now. Come on, really? That's how long it takes for them to be able to launch something new. And then when you make product in a big factory line, you basically get volume discounts for making more of the same thing. And actually, there's minimum order quantities that are extremely high. So for startups, it's a massive barrier. I think when I did Goody Good Stuff, it was 100,000 bags per flavor, so 21 tons to get them to turn the line on. And that was a huge cash outlay, first of all. But second of all, it meant that I was really limited in the number of flavors I could do. And if I wanted to sell in 2 different markets and use 2 different packagings, well, that was another minimum order quantity. So that was really challenging to me. And so when I started developing ways that I could exit that business, I started thinking, okay, what do I want to do next? And it was very clear to me that I wanted to create a way for the consumer to become the creator of the product. This world is so fast changing. The customer is very demanding now about personalization. And this idea that one size fits all is totally, it's null and void now. And so when we started doing that first concept, I developed a 3D printer that got FDA approval, the first one ever in food. We started making custom candy. We had them in all the John Lewis stores here, in Harrods, it was in Selfridges. It's still all over the world. You can go to Dubai Mall or Hong Kong Duty Free or Universal Studios, and you can make custom candy at the touch of a button with a 3D printer. And that was successful and it was awesome, but I knew pretty early on that we hadn't found the product market fit where the technology could, really spread its wings and actually have the biggest value add and impact. And I kept thinking, there's so many other things that need to be personalized. What is currently not really being looked at all? So if we think about our clothes, your clothes are super personalized, right? You can choose so many different variables on your clothes every single day. You can even customize your car. You can make your own trainers. You can customize so many things. But actually, the medicine, the vitamins, the nutrition that you have is really broken into 6 sections. Are you pregnant? Are you not pregnant? Are you over 55? Are you not? And then are you a man or a woman? And that's pretty much it in the mass market. I guess, and also, are you a child? Okay. And this for me was totally crazy. My mom and I were taking the same vitamin. I was like, that's nuts. So I decided that we need to find a better way. And because I had been taking vitamins and supplements since I was in uni, I decided, oh my God, I wonder if we can put vitamins into gummy and make customized gummy vitamins. At the same time, gummy or non-pill formats was on fire. In America, it's more than 50% of the VMS category. And personalization and everything it's like people are like, it's a trend. It's not a trend, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And so I thought, well, we have a really unique ability to do things like this that no one else can do. I wonder if we can apply it to something where it's going to have a really meaningful value add on a daily basis.
Brilliant, love the journey. Thinking about the next stage of the journey then, where does I want to draw this back to marketing and data and the stuff that you're learning about, what the market needs. But, what is the next stage of product development? Like, where do you want to be in a few years' time from a business point of view and if you can tie it back, from a marketing point.
Sure. So we actually have what we call a Hyperspeed MPD process. So we can develop a new product in one day. We could come up with something right now, and I could tell my team after this meeting, and they could launch it by the end of the day. So we can currently make 35 billion different SKUs every 5 minutes. And so, for example, World Sleep Day is coming up on March 18th. So I just decided on Monday we're going to launch a sleep stack. We already did it. It's ready to go. I just approved the copy. It's going live. And literally that's how quickly we can do that. Now we can also add new ingredients in around 2 weeks because we have third-party validations and testing that we have to do with that. And then all of those things are directly fed and directly as a correlation of our customers' feedback and desire to have something that we don't currently have. And so when we launched our first new product in April of last year, that was Nourished Kids. And that was directly on the back of everyone asking for it. Now what people are asking for is Nourished Protein. So that's going to be going live at the end of this quarter. And that's the world's first personalized protein bar. Yeah, so we are using the data every week on a Friday. Customer service team gives us feedback on what people are asking questions about. The data team gives us some charts around where we can see changes in the macro trends in the questionnaire. And then we also get feedback on what new research is coming out that's scientifically backed, been done with humans, double-blind placebo, peer-reviewed, medical journal science that we can look at and benefits that we can offer to people that are important to them, where we feel very justified in the correlative benefit to the ingredient.
Great. You mentioned something quite interesting on a personal level, World Sleep Day.
World Sleep Day.
I've got
It's
a
big.
3-month-old at home, so I'm putting that in the diary and taking that. Let's draw that back into a moment, right? So that's a marketing moment, a moment in time. You're agile enough to kind of move with that and create product. Superspeed, NPD.
Hyperspeed.
Hyperspeed, sorry. Super, sorry,
It's even
2021,
more than
isn't
super.
it?
Super's like here.
How does... Got World Sleep Day right now. So thinking about those marketing moments, like, yes, you can create a product for a single moment in time. Is that something that you proactively say that's a moment we're going to match, it's going to be good for the brand, we can go out and do that? Or is that something that you read and listen to from a data standpoint that you think that's something we can definitely tie ourselves to every year, for example?
It's a really good question. So what we usually do is the customer leads the conversation. So first of all, and the most important data comes from customer service teams. So they're dealing with customers, talking to people, customers and people who haven't purchased, so potential customers on a daily basis. So their data and their feedback is the most highly rated. Then we have the actual requests from customers on the consultation, and then we have things like that I'll see in passing. What are the competitors doing? What are important things that seem to be trending right now? And we take all of that and we pick, okay, out of all these things, what are the top 3 out of these weightings? We're all about algorithms. And then we validate it before we do anything. So the paid team will look at search trends. We will look at competitor plays in the market. We will look at conversation level and share of voice on social about this topic. And then if we believe that those things meet well and that there is a gap, because it costs us £250 to launch a new product. So we have really little risk in doing it. There's no issue. We also don't make product ahead of time. So only when somebody orders it do we make it. So it's not like, oh, if we make that, we're going to have dead stock if it doesn't work. It's just not our model. We're making everything fresh. So there's very few deterrents as to why not to do it, other than we have a limited number of people. So, for every new product launch, there needs to be content, copy, web development. New product development team has to brief the production, an SOP for the packing out, et cetera. So it's not as like this. So we don't want to waste everybody's time. But that's really how we do it. So we take customer feedback and then we validate it with data from the wider market and the analytics that we can get access to online.
Great. And I realise we haven't spoken about this, but obviously this will mean something different to every business in the room around competition. So you obviously, you have a unique product. It kind of serves in health and wellness, but then also you kind of, as you said before, you sort of tackle that everyday vitamin market. how much of what happens there with the big brands out, with the other DTC players, how much of that influences what you do, or are you kind of,
it might have influenced my two campaigns. No. How does it influence me? It doesn't really. If anything, I think that they've been sitting out there kind of uncontested for a really long time.
Okay.
And I think if anything, what we notice is that they are potentially watching us, which is fine because there is a space for enough people in the market. We don't intend, nor was it ever our mission, to replace all other products in our space. I think competition is good for the consumer, and I'm all for that no matter what. And what we do is so unique. My dad used to say to me when I was a kid, to be truly successful is not to be the best at what you do, it's to be the only one in the world that can do what you do. And we are the only people in the world that can create a truly customized product on demand for each individual. And I think no matter how many VMS products get launched, that will be the same. Because, unless someone violates my patent, then we're going to meet in court.
A different set of questions altogether. We're getting towards the time I'd love to use for Q&A. So the bit that I'd like to finish on is just reflections on the journey that you've had from a marketing standpoint with this particular product. What would you do differently if you kind of went through the process again?
I don't really think about life like that. I think everything that we did, even if it didn't work, was an important lesson that added to our wealth of knowledge that guides us on a daily basis. So I think you do have to be okay with making mistakes. I think in the very beginning, we put aside a test budget, which we expected not to work. So if it did, it was like, woo, great, extra. But we didn't plan for that to be the case. We always planned for it to be a testing budget, and we set it aside in that way very specifically so that the team wouldn't be worried about maximizing CAC rates on brand new channels, that they were actually thinking about it as a learning experience. And then I think really, when we look at the journey that we went through, if I could do anything differently or go back and give my team some advice, I would have focused on user-generated content and reviews even faster. I think we did do it well. I mean, it was 5 months in market before we got that title, but still, we could have gone harder and faster on that. And I think customer feedback, customer reviews, customer validation, verified customer validation is the single best selling tool that you can have because people trust other people.
And just on that, when we had a conversation before, you were talking around LinkedIn. For those who don't know, LinkedIn is a part of Microsoft. It's a separate product. So we interface where the LinkedIn data is part of the Microsoft data graph, but the products are very standalone. You talk about unique channels to you that's worked for you, and you were talking about LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Do you want to? I'd love you to share that with everyone as well.
Yeah, sure. So anybody who's using organic social will know that it's no longer really a conversion channel, right? You have to pay to play for everything, literally everything, except for LinkedIn. So actually, LinkedIn is our third biggest source of direct traffic and sales, and we don't advertise on LinkedIn. I just have my own profile, which I talk about the business and what we're doing, and that actually generates a huge amount of interest. Now, obviously, I never, ever sell on LinkedIn. It's very PR editorial style content. But it drives people to the website to learn more. And I think that has a lot to do with our target audience. They're highly educated. They're perhaps not buying things from Instagram ads in the same way that maybe a younger population would do. And so LinkedIn is a more authoritative platform, I think, for people who are, quote unquote, more serious.
I think even for, I suppose, the last sort of 10 years, there has been automation in every stage of marketing that's kind of seeped through. It's now, you see that in ad formats that the publishers will share that are coming out, and everything is kind of leaning towards that kind of marketing automation, whether that's on-site, off-site, optimizing to a particular business goal, and that's kind of reflected in the tools. The people thing is really, really interesting. That kind of comes back to how you construct teams and things to look after your marketing. Generally, what I see is exactly the same thing, which is this is a large portion. This is one of the largest portions of outlay that a business can have, and it's so important that you get it right. And that kind of human touch, that kind of, dare I say it, common sense approach, doesn't always come from the bulk learned models and the outputs that bid management tools, software tools, publishers will recommend using. So I always think from a marketing automation standpoint, the people are still the most important asset, and people can still inform the business the other way, whereas AI can't necessarily say, hey, look, what's popped last night is this particular product opportunity, let's go do it, whereas a person can.
Yeah, I think automation for us, for our business, is much more interesting and immediately implementable in our factory. So 3D printers are robots. We have robot automation in transitions between parts of the production, and that part of it, absolutely. A human doesn't need to do that manual labor, actually. But I think it's going to be a little more difficult to do it on the marketing side 100% for now, but it's improving all the time.
I'm going to say, bring that example to life on the marketing side. Sure, there's a ton of things that you can get done, reports, alerts, kind of managing certain things by exception, publishers, understanding peaks and things on publisher sides. But actually, the key sort of meaty business decisions, that there will always be or certainly for the foreseeable, there'll be someone responsible for that decision.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Yeah, what's your view on community channels like Discord and Telegram?
Say it again.
What's your view on community channels like Discord or Telegram?
We don't use those, no. So we use Reddit. That works quite well, but we don't use those two that you just mentioned. So yeah, I don't really have a view. Do you have a view?
I don't have a view. I have an account with Telegram. I think from my point of view, they're definitely an area to watch because they're closed communities, so they have that kind of engagement opportunity.
Yeah,
but I can't give you a view on.
The reason I say it is you're focusing on customer relationships and almost one-to-one, and Discord and Telegram for our business works incredibly well where you're listening and communicating with customers constantly. But it's hard to manage. That's why
Yeah, I mean, it's an evolution, right? Everything's an evolution of another channel. I think that there's, you'll have Facebook within their own ecosystem have a messaging platform that will have marketing benefits. The same thing with chat. Within our own ecosystem, we'll display a conversation or an ad in a personalized way differently. For example, on native ads in Outlook, for example, I think the customer communication piece is super interesting. The one-to-one communication and having the ear of customers is interesting. It's definitely an area to be watching.
We have just a couple of minutes left, so Jess.
Yeah, so I run a dating app that's based on personality types, and what we're trying to do at the moment is find, topics that are trending that we don't know about. Like everyone knows about the Tinder swindler right now, but say we didn't know about the Tinder swindler. How do we find these topics that impact us but we don't know about yet? Do you have any tips?
Google Alerts.
Yeah.
Google Alerts, set loads of them for things that you think cross over to your industry, and then sign up for the different mailing lists that you think your target customer is reading. So, we know our customers reading Refinery 29, Hypebeast, The Hustle, etc. So we all get those, and then we scan them regularly in order to see what the conversations are about. So you can tag on to those types of existing and growing and trending conversations.
Yeah, and then you use Google Trends and you look at
Yeah, exactly. And I think Google Alerts, I change mine all the time, but you can use them very specifically for something that you're trying to push, so you can see where a conversation is happening and where there's a tangent to another topic that you didn't realize. Or you can do it for bigger macro ideas, so like vegan nutrition or whatever. For us, that would be something that we would do. So yeah, I think it's super interesting what you're doing, though. I like the idea.
Yeah, working well, nearly 2,000.
Well done. That's awesome. That's really good.
so synced if anyone's looking for a date.
I just want to piggyback on the back of that. So there's a ton of tools that you can use. You obviously wouldn't want to use every single one. They'll probably contradict one another. But if you think about you're thinking about kind of emerging trends, if you like. So yeah, there's Google Trends is probably one of the most frequently used. We're talking about ultimately people's intent. So what is someone actively thinking about, talking about? It's not so much an unmet need. It's a need. It's something that's out there. There's this is a plug. This is a plug for keyword planner tools across all of the publishers, because they all say different things, and they all kind of what you get indexed on one search engine versus another is slightly different, but you might learn by using those tools. So yeah, keyword planner tools as well. They don't have to pay for them, but they're also there for you from an emerging trend point of view.
Yeah.
Perfect. We are just out of time. This session has gone far too quickly. I feel like we've covered a hell of a lot though. I think there's still plenty to dive into there. So just a couple of quick thank yous. Melissa, I think you killed it. I think you did an awesome job. So thank you very, very much. I should say Melissa came down on a train from Birmingham this morning for this session.
Early.
So, bright and early. So thank you for that.
No problem.
I believe we've also got some samples in Nourished, which are going to be out on that table.
Yeah.
I think give them to Willie. It looks like he's disappeared.
I made you guys high flyer, so they're for busy professionals, entrepreneurs. I made it for me, so yeah, it's really nice. I hope that you enjoy it.
Yeah, so we'll put those out, so make sure you grab one of those and give it a go. But Simon, massive thank you to you as well, just giving us some insight into this world. I think we're all taking plenty away with us back to the office, and plenty we can implement as well. Needless to say, Simon, you sticking around a little bit?
Stick around, yeah. Have a chat.
So feel free to chat to him. But I'm sure we'll connect you all on email as well. So any conversations you want to take forward, I'm sure Simon's happy to give advice and answer any questions you have, as is Tina. Yep. Cool, but no, thank you all so much for coming out bright and early this morning. We appreciate it. It's good to get everyone back in person, and we'll see you at the next one very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.